Hey guys, welcome back to Draw Along Doodles with Walker. Today we're going to do one of my favorite flowers, an oriental poppy. Now, it is a little bit more confusing at times, so make sure that if you need to pause it or slow down the video, that you do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come and make where the center will be. I'm going to create for myself a round ball about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay. Remember, if you're pressing lightly, it will be easier to adjust as you go. So digging down is not your friend. All right, I'm going to go slightly north of center. And then they have these really cool insides where it looks like small teardrops. They are quite interesting. So we're going to round that around and come touch. And round around and come touch. All right. And then I'll make one bump back here. Shows you that it's continuing. Now, this is going to be part of a detail. We're going to wait until we have the rest of our shapes to put that in. So to make the first petal, which we're going to base everything off of, I'm going to make a really shallow curve that's going to cut across the poppy. So this will be about in the middle of it. Might be a little bit more towards the left. All right, and now I'm going to come and curve underneath to make that first petal. All right, now I'm going to come from the tip of that petal, come up. It's going to curve out a little bit and then come down and touch. Okay. Now we're going to make the next petal that's going to touch, and that's going to come from the other corner. We're going to curve up. I'm going to go a little bit taller on this one, and then I'm going to swoop down. All right. Now I'm going to come do two petals that are going to separate that inner layer at the back. I'm going to make them a little bit off center. So this one is going to be slightly towards the left, and the next one will be slightly bigger and towards the right. I'm going to come up to almost like a candy corn kind of point. And then I'm going to come down and touch the tip of that petal that we made just a minute ago. Now I'm going to start part of the way up that petal to make my next one. And it's going to have a little bit less of a triangular shape. It's going to be a little bit more of a gradual climb. And then I'm going to cut out and right inside that point. All right, now we're going to add a petal behind here. So we'll come up and down. So it's not a pointy kind of petal situation. They're a little bit more gentle at the top. Now to come and make the petals that are rounding around the whole flower that encase it, we're going to use the tip right here. We're going to swoop around and up until we get just a little bit to the left of that top. And it's going to come in and down. So I've swooped from that corner up and around to the top right there. All right, now for the other side, I need to add, actually, let's stay on this side. I'm going to come here from the side, and I'll go underneath that first curve we made and point and back in. Okay, now over here, we're going to curve down a little bit, and we're going to come up to make the outside part of that particular petal. Then we're going to make the last one right here. It's going to be a nice gentle curve as it's on the very outside. Now, as you're looking at yours, you may decide, oh, well, you know what? When I go in and do this, I want to tighten it up a little bit. I want to change it. that's totally fine. For example, I think I want that ending for that petal to coincide right there. And I'm going to ripple my lines slightly when I Sharpie them. All right, now these, I'm going to set down some guidelines because essentially this part has little tiny black lines with little black kind of circular pom-poms at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and set guidelines, but I'm not going to put all the teeny tiny lines that I will when I use my Sharpie. I'm going to make a nice wide V for the base of the stem, and then I'll come down. Now these leaves are super cool. They're very variegated, and they almost kind of look like arugula if you've ever eaten arugula. So I'm going to come get one on each side down here. I'm also going to include some coming up and around the poppy. And there's my baselines for these. All right. The way that I'm going to work it is I'm going to come down like I'm making, almost like I'm making coral. So I'm going to wave out and in, out and in, out and in. I'm using that guideline as my basis of like, where in the world am I waving that back into so that I won't be off in the distance. All right. I'm going to repeat that process. So I'm arching over the top of the line. Then I'm waving out and in as I go down. Do the same on the other side. This one's going to be a little bit folded behind. So after I get its wave, I'm actually going to go smooth on the other side. And do that again over here. Smooth on one side, then wave down on the other, like it was folded inward on itself. And then for this one, we'll go back to both sides. So I'm going to arch over the top. And now I'm going to wave, like little fingers going down. All right, fabulous. So we're going to go in and Sharpie. It will help you if you work about on the petals first, and then we'll worry about the center. Okay, so let's start with that first petal. And like I said, I'm going to wave it just a little bit because they're really thin like tissue paper, and their edges feel like they have just a gentle undulation. All right. It's not like zigzaggy or super scalloped. It's just a gentle following as it folds out. All right. And smoothing that one. All right. Now let's come get the center. All right. Now I'm going to do both thick and thin lines for these little pieces that come out. So I'm going to go where I put my guidelines for the thicker ones. Whoop. And then I'm going to take my thin Sharpie and come and add lots of little lines between it so it really fills up all those pieces coming out. It'll look a little bit like eyelashes. Okay. Now we need to get the pom-poms towards the end, but there's a lot of things to put it on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place, black circles in that general vicinity. Some of them may touch the ends, some of them may not. And I'm not going to worry about lining them up with an individual line in particular. I'm just going to get them following that edge. And then I'll make a couple smaller ones and sprinkle them in, either a little bit to the side or below or above where my bigger ones were. And I'll start to get that nice full feeling that you see with an Oriental poppy. Not going to forget the bottom. Okay, time for our leaves. So I'll go ahead and do the back ones first since we've already got our paper right here. I'm not going to worry about that line that I put to guide me. Instead, I'm just going to worry about the outside of that leaf. Okay. And then I'll come down and I'll let it attach. I'm not going to separate it this time from the stem. That's really a choice you can make if you decide you want it to have, a space that's cut off between that stem and that leaf, but that's a choice in this case. All right, very good. Now, if you are one of my friends who's trying to shade this and make it look a little bit more three-dimensional, then the things to pay attention to are this is the inside of a petal. So it should have a darker shadow rounding up and then getting a little bit more dispersed as it gets to the top. This is an inside petal. So once again, we're darker towards the center, variegating as we get up. This right here is curved and we're seeing a little bit of the inside. So we want to get a nice shadow towards the edge and towards the corner. Then we have these petals going underneath those towards the center. So you want to kind of curve those out. We'll also come and add just a little bit of a shadow right here as it comes behind those. This one is peaking, so it's coming a little bit as well. And then since these are facing the light and they're curved towards it, your shadow right here is going to be the rounding of the bottom as it goes away from the light. And then right here. Now you could also give yourself a little bit of a shadow underneath for the stem. And if you needed to bend your leaves in or make them look like they were a little bit more movement oriented, then you can come and give them a little bit of shadow where you think there would be a dip in it. Usually that's around either the corner or that guideline that we made. All right, guys, and you have a poppy. All right. I look forward to seeing what you guys have when you're done. Bye. See you again later.